members all here. So I think I'll call the meeting to order, if that's okay with everyone. This meeting of the Grafton Planning Board is being conducted entirely remotely, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place. We'll be calling the roll of the members, the staff, and guest speakers who are present to ensure that we can hear them. Please try to keep, except for the members, please keep your mics, your audio muted until it's your turn to talk, because the fewer background inputs we get, I think the easier it is on Zoom. Let's see, membership. Paper, that's why it doesn't make any sense. David.
I'm here.
Justin.
Here.
Linda.
Here.
Prabhu.
Here.
Vikram.
Present.
And I am here. Chris.
Present.
All right. How about if you do the rest of the staff and the visitors, since you know who they are.
Yeah, I don't think we need to call a roll of all the applicants. There's quite a few.
I'm just going by these scripts, which I don't agree with.
But Natalia Allward, I believe, is also here for staff.
Right. And we'll find out who's who as we go along in terms of others. Please note the meeting is being recorded as well as being broadcast live on the Grafton Community Television Government Channel. When we take votes or when we come to making motions and seconds, it would help Natalie if we would say who we are when we make them, because it's a little hard for her to pick that up as she goes along. All right, as far as participation by the public, for the public comment agenda item and for when we're discussing or when we're having input on any of the matters that we're looking at, including the public hearings, you will let Chris know through the Q&A feature or the chat feature that you have a question or you may want to make a comment, and he'll keep me in line. Please, if you do ask a question or make a comment, please include your name and address in your comment or question. We'll either hear you or Chris will read it, I guess. Every vote will be taken by roll call. All that said, public input. Is there any public input on anything that is not already on the agenda? Hearing and seeing none. We'll move on to A&R Plan 20-05, 244 Worcester Street rear, 2 parcels, Wyman Gordon.
Just a point of order, Mr. Chair. The number is 2020-06 for this one.
I'm
Wyman Gordon.
well, the printout I printed out says it's 5. And the application form says 6. Thank you. This is the one for Wyman Gordon, whatever the number is. But moving along, maybe, is there any, Chris?
Yeah, I'm going to share this plans as we just the minutes.
Name before speaking. If members wish to engage.
Someone said something. I don't know what.
I think that was background audio from the GCTV feed, if I had to guess.
That's probably going to be running a bit too far behind to be extremely helpful.
Mr. Chairman, I have the plans shown here.
Yes.
I can just walk through this really quick. I'm Sean Barry from the Design Group out of Plainville. We're here tonight for approval not required request for an existing parcel. It's consisting of 36 acres at 1537 Grafton Worcester Road. Our intentions are to just make 2 deeded parcels. It's pretty straightforward. Subdivide into lot 3, which is going to be 5.7 acres in the area of the existing building, and then subdivide the rest into parcel A. 7.34 acres of that is in Grafton, and the remaining 23 acres of parcel A is in Millbury, and all of parcel A is going to be considered a non-buildable parcel at this time. And yeah, that's any questions.
How come north isn't up?
Just turn your head sideways.
Yeah.
Got one of those monitors. But,
Yeah, I would just observe that the triangle of land that is in Grafton is currently identified as a separate parcel on the assessor's map. So there is no new division of land occurring here in Grafton. That parcel is being, I mean, the division of land is all occurring in Millbury, and the Grafton parcel seems to be attached to what will be parcel A.
Exactly. The land area in Grafton exists as that today. So
Given that, I'm willing to make a motion if the chair will have it.
that was Justin doing that,
Yes, I was just going to say that.
and your motion is
My motion is to approve the A&R as presented, to find that it's a approval not required, and authorize the town planner to sign on behalf of the board.
Robin seconds the motion.
moved in second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. David,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Prabhu,
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries.
thank you, everyone.
Good luck. Brings me to North Street, 93 North, 93 North Street, A&R 2020-5. Notwithstanding what it says in my printed agenda. Okay, let's talk about this one. I think we've seen this area a couple of times. Someone going to explain this?
So I've pulled up the plans. I believe Deborah Engvall is going to present the plans that are provided.
Hi, my name is Deb Holden Engvall. I did want to just clarify one thing. On the printed agenda, it did say the Engvall Family Nominee Trust on there. However, it is actually Bert A., Carl D., and Eric R. Engvall, who actually read as well. So it had been in a trust, but now it is co-owned by the 3 brothers. The plan that we are submitting is to divide out the lot 5, which is the homestead lot at 93 North Street. which consists of approximately 1.36 acres. The remaining land on June 20th at the town meeting was voted to be accepted as open space and passive recreation. And that we basically are working with the town council and the select board in terms of the way in which we're going to donate the remaining acreage to the town of Grafton.
Any comments, Chris?
I believe that this meets the frontage and area requirements. I believe there is a August 10th, this will be before us again, if favorably voted on, is that correct? For the notice of intent?
Oh, are you asking me, Chris?
Yeah.
So yes, what the family is asking is if upon approval this evening, what I would be doing is, I'm sorry, there's some feedback. So what we will be doing after tonight's meeting, should the planning board approve the A&R plan, we actually have an individual who is looking at buying the 1.36 acres. And we will be coming before the board again. And maybe if Chris, you can expand that a little bit. Basically, we're going to be asking for 19,271 square feet to be removed from Chapter 61. So we would be on the August meeting to request your input to the Board of Selectmen because we're required to do a notice of intent to sell. And we have approximately, as I said, 19,271 square feet of Lot 5 that is currently in chapter land. So we would be coming before the board for you to make a recommendation whether or not to exercise the 120 days. The town has a first right of refusal to buy the 19,271 square feet.
I think that was explained really well. I'm not sure how much I would expand on that.
Are there any questions? Recommendation, Chris?
Yeah, and I would recommend that the board approve, unless there's any outstanding issues that they've noticed.
So Justin here, I'll first off say thank you to the Engel family again on behalf for offering this land for donation to the town. It was wonderful. And I'll make the motion that we find this is an approval not required and authorize the town planner to sign on behalf of the board.
Second.
Who's seconding? You have to-
I am.
You have to
Second.
No, you have, I asked that you say who it is.
Oh, Linda Hassinger, second.
To help her,
Okay, I'm sorry.
to help her.
Oh, yes, Linda Hassinger, second.
We'll get this straightened out.
Sorry.
Any further discussion on the motion? Anybody? If not, David,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Prabhu,
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries. Good luck with it. I guess we'll be seeing some more of you.
And my brother-in-law, Carl, is here, one of the Engvall family members, brothers.
Okay,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
thank you. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
someone saying something?
Yeah, so there was a technical question. I moved Zach Couture to be a panelist in order to present the agenda item 18 Carroll Road, but that's later.
A little while off. Okay, approval of minor modification and endorsement of final plan set for 44 Estabrook. And so on and so on.
Did we get
Seems like
a
we keep
final
hearing-
set?
We keep coming across this, don't we?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, yes, so I did reach out and ask if there was an update to plans. Last I heard they were.
Yeah, no kidding. Why are you screaming?
Last I heard they were working to pull plans together for this coming meeting, this meeting tonight. I did not hear back, so I'll continue to reach out. But I guess since there's no plans for the board to review, we can just skate past this item.
Okay, well, I don't think we need to take any vote.
No.
Continue.
It'll pop up on the agenda when they actually have some plans ready for us to do something with.
We don't have to vote to table or pass. Okay. Draft decision. SP 2020 approval. This is 100 Westboro Road. Chris, maybe you can.
Yep, so we do have Dan Hazen from G&H and Mr. Afonso available. As noted earlier, Amanda's on a separate call, but she may be able to chime in potentially. I do have a draft decision that was presented on Friday. I did get some feedback and adjusted the language, which was provided to you this morning. So I'd be happy to review that decision and answer any questions that the board may have. The public comment period is, or the public hearing portion of this meeting has been closed at the last meeting. So this is just deliberation of the decision at this point.
We closed the hearing.
Yes.
We did close the hearing. Okay.
Correct.
Yes.
Been a little hard.
I did send Chris a note about the public hearing dates in the background section, and he did correct that because it does say that there was a hearing still open on the 27th, even though it's still mentioned we closed it last meeting, I mean.
Yeah, I had, let's see, let me look at. Yes, there's a little bit of, it's really, really minor nitpicky here. In finding F21, the second sentence reads, the board notes that a proposed multi-use path is proposed to the south of the site. One of those two words, proposed, can be eliminated. Apparently that was written by the Department of Redundancies Department.
Try not to do that, but every once in a while.
And one other nit that I had, let's see. Yes, down in the conditions D7, the wording there makes a reference to the rules and regulations without saying what rules and regulations, although it's fairly obvious in context, but the wording could be a little bit clearer. And then and a little bit later in that paragraph, it refers to subdivision rules. So both of those are intended to refer to the subdivision rules and regulations. That's just a matter of using some more consistent wording.
All right, so what were the two conditions? You said that was D6?
Yeah, that was in D7.
Was there another instance of that, or is it just D7?
That's the only one that I noted. Doesn't mean there isn't another one. That's the only one I happen to notice.
Thank you. I'll take another look too.
Actually, there's, in one place we say rules and regulations, and the other would say subdivision rules. It's probably subdivision rules and regulations.
Yeah, I think that would be the appropriate reference.
I can do a search of the document to replace any with
Yeah.
regulations rather than just rules.
Someone's got,
Yeah, sorry.
Tom O'Malley, maybe.
Who knows sometimes.
There we go. I guess that's fixed. Okay. Anybody else have any comments on the draft decision? Anyone?
I had one question on
Sure.
F18. It says that the proposal involves creation of a community park. Did we talk about that? I might have missed it.
Yes.
F18.
So the community park, unless they want to comment further, but that was the portion of open space on the interior of the plans. They did submit renderings of what that would look like. It's essentially a walking path with some benches and some trees planted as well.
Okay, so that is the community
Create a
park.
community space, yeah.
Okay. Anybody with anything else? Not hearing anyone. Do I have a motion?
Okay, Dave will make a motion here that the board find favorably on findings F1, 21, or F1 through F22 and approve the special permit with the conditions, all the conditions noted, all as drafted and as modified by the comments made during the discussion.
Linda second.
It's been moved and it's been seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go.
Just for, on finding 20, just for clarification, which description on found or did not find is the favorable choice?
So I would recommend as a favorable unless there was an issue with the additional curb cut that the board found that the additional curb cut, the way I wrote it, was necessary for the safe and efficient flow of traffic, as well as ease of access for emergency vehicles. And I noted that there are no access routes on adjacent parcels to provide a shared drive as encouraged in the reference section, 12.2.3.
Actually, under decision, we don't usually have number that voted yes and no, do we? We usually have the individuals, don't we? How do we do that? Well, however it should be. Any more discussion? No more discussion. Are you all set, Chris?
I believe so. We have a motion and a second, so the board would just have to vote on
Sorry, are we ready to vote? This is a fairly big project. David,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Prabhu,
Aye.
and I vote aye. The motion carries.
We have successfully processed our very first village mixed-use project.
Now, it'll be finished when, before snow?
Our part of it is done.
Well, hey, you know, progress comes in little steps.
Yeah.
Let me see now. We are, what's the next item here?
Thank you very much.
Good luck. Let's see, we did that. We did this. Alrighty, I have one more. Oh, yeah, let's try to fit this in. Determination of minor modification to SPA 2015-1.5, 198 Worcester Street, Reunion Tap and Table, Sargon, Hannah.
Hi, guys.
Aye.
It was really nice to see that Dave is still doing the nets for the decisions. I thought that was great. I missed. First off, can I just say I want to apologize to you guys. I'm sorry it's taking me this long to get to you. These new plans. When we came to you guys late May, early June, we didn't really know what the future held for us. We didn't know if the tent that we had was going to be a success, if it was going to help our business, and where we were at. It turned out to be a huge hit, and we wanted to capitalize ASAP. So around the 4th of July weekend, we put up another tent. We had access to one. 10 companies said that they have one more left, wanted to put it up ASAP, and we went ahead and did it to test it. And again, this tent was a huge success as well. So I apologize. I understand there's a process. I should have done a better job following it, but that's why I'm here today, presenting these plans for a second tent in the parking lot. This new tent is 30 by 40. So essentially we took the original 20 by 40 tent and moved it down to the right. If you're staring at the building, to the left, and we put this 30 by 40 tent where the original tent was. We've added approximately 40 chairs, 40 seats, 45 seats. We've taken away an additional 5 parking spaces, none of which were handicapped. Doing the math, we're still have enough parking for the required seating that we have here, the capacity, and the capacity is still way under the 153 that we had originally, minus the 10 parking spaces.
What's your capacity now?
So between the two tents, it's roughly 80 to 85 seats.
I'm glad it's going well. I wish we had done this process.
I'm sorry about that.
I know. Do you have to get a building permit to put the tent up?
Yeah, I believe we do.
Yes.
Anyway, and then you have to have it inspected
Yes.
so that you make sure it's not going to fall down on people.
Yeah, well, this one is, yeah, you're right.
Okay. Does anyone have any question?
At this point, is there any inside seating?
No, sir.
Okay.
We're not looking to do that at all. To be very honest with you, for me and my partners, we feel like with COVID, outdoors is probably the safest, or actually the safest in our opinion. Coming indoors just increases chances of spreading the virus. None of us feel comfortable to do that. So the way we have everything set up now, if you haven't been yet, you come and you sit at your seat. Although there's no servers, you order your food online, and the food will come to you in a to-go bag, one way out in, one way out, basically with the food. So that way we're not bringing any food or any like dirty dishes back into the restaurant. And then if you want to order a drink, you walk over to the bar where everyone's like kind of 6 feet away. You order your drinks at the bar and you go back and you sit at your table inside the tent. We're not looking to move inside. We're hoping that we're going to have good weather up until November 1st. And by that point, we'll see where we're at. My guess, and I hate to be the, negative Nancy, but I don't know where we're going to be as a state in November with COVID. I don't see a vaccine coming. And I don't know if we want to be back open or be ready for people to come indoors yet.
I would agree with that 100%. I mean, I'm not particularly pleased that you kind of ignored the previous modification the board approved and went ahead and plopped that tent up there without first coming to the board. Seems to me like you ought to have been able to do that pretty easily. But having said that, note that I'm not pleased with that aspect of it. from a public health perspective, I am particularly pleased that you're limiting to the outdoors only, because I have the same concerns about outdoors versus indoors. And noting that the board, in reviewing this plan originally, the board had a really major concern with parking. And here you have, as you've noted, you have now eliminated 10 parking spaces in front.
Total.
Parking has been enough of an issue without expanding the capacity beyond the 2 tenths you have now.
I mean, I would,
like I said, it's extremely important that we pay as much attention as we can to the public health aspects of this, and make sure that we're adhering to all the best practices to protect the health of the public.
Absolutely. I mean, the one thing I would, and slightly disagree with Dave, for the parking issue, I agree that when we had our original capacity of 153, the parking, when Friday, Saturday night, or when we used to have private functions in this building, it was tight. It was. I fully admit that. I would say, in terms of the capacity we have now, the parking is not so much. We never get to that point because I just don't have enough tables and chairs for everybody.
No, it's quite understood that with the capacity limited to 80 or so, even with a loss of 10 parking spaces, your parking should be adequate.
Yes.
This is more of a concern, and looking ahead to some point in the future, if you want to further expand your seating capacity, there's a potential for there to be a parking problem. But as it stands now, there is no, I think, no real concern with parking.
Yeah, as of right now, no. And like I said, I am hesitant to make any guesses as to where, what November is going to look like, December is going to look like. If I had like I said, my guess, I don't think we'd be moving inside. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't think, nothing's really changed with this virus, right? The virus doesn't know that it's been a year and we've been sitting at home bored. The virus doesn't know we've all been inconvenienced. The virus
yeah. The virus really doesn't care what we think.
Exactly. And so for me, I mean, sans a vaccine, I don't know how we go back to normal. I think this has to be our new normal. And then when the wintertime comes, maybe we move strictly back to go until we can get back outside, and until everybody feels comfortable sitting inside again. I don't want to, I know some places are doing it. I don't personally think we can do that.
I'm with you on that for sure.
Yeah.
Are you doing any of the drinks in sealed containers?
The to-go stuff?
Whatever.
So there is a new law that allows, I guess it just got passed, which really irks me, because the MRA, which is the Massachusetts Restaurant Association, they're calling this huge victory for restaurants. Oh, we got to-go cocktails. And we're looking at it like, who the hell asked for that? Like, nobody, like, why don't you get us in front of, help with minimum, tip minimum wage, other big issues at hand. Whereas for us, to-go cocktails, that doesn't move the needle for us at all. Honestly, we haven't done that. I don't think we're going to do that. Maybe if we go back strictly to go, but that also feels very, it's got to be in a sealed container. It's got to be in your trunk, I guess. It can't even be inside the car with you. I don't know. I just don't see how that helps anyone.
Just to clarify on that, I believe that also only applies to beer and wine, if I'm not mistaken.
No, Chris, they just passed the new law, like a couple of days ago.
Yeah. Is anybody supplying appropriate containers yet that would meet the law? If you're going to mix, as long as it's a can of beer, okay, it's packaged. But if you're making a Mai Tai or
Exactly. Beer and wine, we did do when we were doing to go. We had crowlers and growlers, and then bottles of wine, obviously. Those are easy. But to go cocktails, to go margarita, I don't know. I mean, I think it can't even be mixed. It's got to be all separate. And then you would have to, when you get home. So
Yeah, anecdotally, I did hear like another local restaurant. I'm not going to out of respect right now, but their cocktails that they make, they are concerned with liability reasons about doing anything concerned to go, because you as a restaurant are still liable for what happens with that drink after it leaves your restaurant.
Exactly. And that, Justin, that's another reason. Again, I mean, just that word alone always scares me, so I don't even.
Liability.
Yeah.
Liability. Yeah. The other thing, though, I was thinking about is beginning in November, the weather will be rather different than it is now.
Yeah.
Only the more hardy people are likely to be out in the tent. And I'm thinking about this. I haven't seen this. If you want to drink, go into the bar and get it and bring it back out.
Almost as if you are at a wedding. If you're sitting at your table and you want to get up and grab a drink, you just go up to the bar, and that's how we're doing that.
Yeah.
Just to, and we're telling one representative from the table come bring the IDs. We're trying to make it so that it's just less contact, less people. When you're inside the restaurant, you're required to wear your mask. No ifs, ands, or buts. Obviously, I'm sitting in the dining room where no one is, the private one. I'm not wearing mine, but all the guests are wearing masks.
Yeah. No, what I was thinking about is as the weather gets worse, people are going to be more and more interested in staying inside where it's warm with their drink, and you're going to have to be
police that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that would just, that's going to, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
That's going to be something that maybe we have to take a look at.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I mean, there are some heaters that we can add to the tents that tent companies are trying to sell us on. But right now it's so freaking hot. I can't even think about it right now.
Who needs heaters out right now?
Yeah. Well,
there may be a time for that, but it's not now.
Well, to be honest with you, actually, today the AC went in the inside, so the tent is actually a little cooler than it is right now where I'm sitting.
Just what you need.
Well, as things begin to change and you begin to have a different breakdown, particularly because we have to keep an eye on the parking and all of that, you
Correct.
Come talk to us before you do anything more.
Again, sorry. Yeah, it was one of those things where we had 4th of July weekend coming. We felt like we were going to be busy, and we also had an issue with crowding. People would come and they were trying to sit, like they wanted to hang out, right? Or they would try to go inside and grab a drink and then come outside and stand outside with their drink without having a table. So we started adding tables for what's the word, for extra people, like just like, hey guys, sit over here, wait for your table while you're waiting. Overflow was all going to those tables, and so we kind of all looked at it and we said, man, we could be seating these people and making money. 4th of July is coming. We had a few musical acts. We said, let's just go for it. And I was like, I'm gonna go to the planning board. I know they're gonna be upset. I got to do this. And then I have been I've been neglectful, so I apologize again.
Okay.
That's on me.
Any more questions or comments?
Sargon, you had mentioned that there were some other issues that you think were more important than the covered cocktails. Please, I'd like to have that conversation offline. I know John Allen's been doing a lot to keep his finger on the pulse of local businesses, but anything we can do, I'd love to have that conversation. And maybe there's nothing that we can do, but I'd like to try. So please.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate that.
Okay. If there's nothing else, do I have a motion?
This is Dave. I think I will move that the board approve this minor modification with the condition that only outside seating be allowed at this time, just to avoid any questions about about parking, and also it it sort of implicitly understands Sargon's desire not to go inside at this present time. But I'd just like to kind of formalize that to say that we're approving the second tent and the new arrangement, provided that seating is limited to outdoors only.
Justin, I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. David,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Prabhu,
Aye.
and I vote aye. Motion carries. Good
Thank
luck.
you, guys.
Good luck,
Thank you so
Sargon. Glad to hear you got business.
I took a look at your agenda tonight. Looks like a long one. Is my father's rule gonna come into play at 10 p.m. or no?
Okay.
It's
And we'll
possible.
discuss where that rule came from once again. Sargon, Hannah.
Guys, have a good night.
Good luck.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Okay, it now being past 7:30, unless there's a problem, we should move on to the public hearings. Chris, just so that if anybody's here, we only have one of these hearings that's going to be asked to be continued. Is that true? It's not noted on what I've got at all, but I heard there was a request from,
Correct. I believe it was 274 Providence Road.
which is item G, 6G.
Correct.
And do we have that request?
Let me try and pull it up.
They asked to continue till August 10th. So I'll make the motion that we continue 274 Providence Street's public hearing until August 10th at 7:30 p.m. Assuming that's the right date for our meeting.
Prabhu seconds.
Been seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Oops. Okay.
It takes some getting used to.
Yeah.
For certain values of some. David,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Prabhu,
Aye.
I vote yes, aye. The motion carries.
For as many meetings as I chaired, right up to the last one, I had a tendency to say all in favor
Yes.
without remembering to do the roll call.
Well, I probably chaired 400 or 500 meetings, and that's usually what I do.
Yeah.
Between this board and all the others, it sort of kicks in. All right. Well, now we're on to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
8.
7, 8 public hearings. The first one is a new one. Is that correct?
Yes.
Is
So we need to read the notice.
certainly. So pursuant to Article 24 of the General Bylaws of the Town of Grafton and Scenic Road Regulations, the Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Monday, July 27th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. to consider the application for a scenic road permit for alterations to the stone wall, creating an opening for a new single-family residence driveway at 21 Meadowbrook Road, shown as Grafton Assessors Map 6A, Lot 67. Said property is located in a low-density residential R40 zoning district. The applicant owner is James Conkey of 1 Envelope Terrace, T5, Worcester, Mass. Copies of the application and plan are available for public inspection on the Town of Grafton website at www.grafton-ma.gov on the Planning Department Development Projects webpage. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March stay-at-home advisory, this meeting will be conducted via remote participation. Please see www.grafton-ma.gov/planning board for more information.
Okay. Chris.
Yep, so this is a scenic road opening permit, a scenic road permit. They're looking to create an opening in an existing stone wall to create a driveway to service a new single-family home on the lot in Meadowbrook. So I've pulled up the plans. Happy to address any questions the board may have. I'm not sure if the applicant is on the call. Kind of minimizes my screen when I do the screen share. Looking through.
I see the applicant listed as an attendee.
Let me see if I can, sorry.
He says, I'm here, but don't think I can contribute live. I would hope you could if
I believe I
you
gave
have connection.
permission to. Mr. Conkey, are you available?
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, sorry about the technical difficulty there. Yeah, Chris pretty much summed it up. I'm looking to build a single-family residence on the lot, and in order to do so, we need to open about 18 linear feet of the existing stone wall to create the driveway entrance to the lot. We're basically looking to open the wall and then utilize the existing stones to build some stone pillars at the end of each wall on either side of the driveway by the street.
It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Any questions or comments?
One observation that in similar cases in the past where a stone wall needs to be opened up, where there was it has happened where they basically needed to relocate a driveway, and so what they've done, what we've often suggested is that the stones removed from the new entrance be put, used to fill in the old ones, so that you have the same sort of relatively uniform stone wall. It's just that you move the opening to a different place. In this case here, that would mean removing that gate and filling that space in with the stones removed from the new entrance. It was my understanding, reading through the material, that the existing gate is really kind of it's an entrance that's unusable for the purposes for which you now need the new opening.
That's correct. It's really too narrow for a vehicle, and it's too close. It's pretty much adjacent to what will be a wetland replication area, so it won't be usable land. So if that's what we need to do and fill that in with the existing stones, we can certainly do that as well.
Yeah, but I guess I'd ask the other members of the board. I mean, either way, you're keeping the existing stones, which is a plus, and it's kind of the purpose of the scenic road bylaw is to preserve, in this case, the appearance of the historic stone wall.
Yeah, I don't have any objection to keeping the gate. I think it is rather nice, rather distinctive.
Yeah, I mean, the gate doesn't look bad, and it's sort of there. So, to my way of thinking, either alternative would be, to me, acceptable.
Yeah, I'll leave that up to you.
Yeah. Does anybody else have anything?
The only thing I'll say is that the only thing I'm really caring about, just like was said already, is that we're reusing the stones in the public facing way. Whether that be replace the gate or do the pillars as suggested, I think is fine. And when staff does go to draft the decision, I think it's probably worth noting that the board considers either use acceptable. In case the applicant decides to change their plans, they don't need to come back to us for that. If it's to do that.
Well, any more questions, comments, input from anyone? public or otherwise? If not, I need a motion.
Dave will move that we close the public hearing and direct staff to draft a decision taking into account the information received and the testimony heard.
And our discussion.
And Justin seconds.
And Justin seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. David,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Prabhu,
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries. Moving on.
Thank you, everyone.
Whoops. I just took down the critical page. All right. The next one is request for special permit SP 2020-7/SPA. Site plan approval. And site plan approval at 20 Milford Road. Continued from July 13th.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is John. This is John Grenier. I am the engineer for the applicant. And just to give everyone a quick overview of the project and where we stand now, we are.
Well, he's talking. You can talk.
What? Can you hear me?
I can hear
Okay.
you. There's somebody, I think James has his mic still on.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry about that. So the existing site is again on Milford Road. It is approximately a 5-acre site that contains a 15,760 square foot commercial building. The new user, he has the property under agreement, is looking to move his landscape construction business to this location. In order for it to meet his needs, he is looking to expand the yard area. There is an existing gravel yard area at the rear of the building, and he is looking to expand that to the southwest on the side of the building to give him about almost about another 30,000 square feet of yard area. And that gravel yard area will be for him to have some of his vehicles in there. He'll be storing some materials such as mulch, gravel, sand, stone, and whatnot for various projects he's working on. We have been before the Conservation Commission, so we have presented in front of them. They continued the hearing pending the review from Graves Engineering, which at our last hearing, we were also waiting for the review from Graves Engineering. We did receive that on Friday. Obviously, we haven't had time to address the items, but we have reviewed them. And from our point of view, there's a couple of small things that we need to tweak on the plans in order to give a little bit more stormwater treatment, but nothing that would really change the scope of the project in any way, like big shape or form. So we're comfortable pretty much that we can address Graves's comments reasonably, and it wouldn't really have any material change to really what you're looking at right now on the site plans. The other item, after our last meeting, I spoke with my client, and I believe he's on the meeting. I can't see him, but regarding the way that his business runs and hours of operation. They are a landscape construction contractor. They need to be at jobs at 7. So when they have their employees come in, they come in anywhere between 6 to 6:30 in their own vehicles, and then get ready for the day, and they are back out probably by like 6:30, 6:45, obviously depending on where their jobs are. So they wouldn't really be there wouldn't be much activity during the day. Obviously they'll be out at job sites, but they do need to get to work early so that they can get construction vehicles, get their dump trucks, get their trailers, and be out to get to jobs and be on job sites for 7. So I wanted the board to be aware of that. Beyond, I think those were the big items. In case I missed anything, Chris, if you have anything else to add, or Mr. Chairman, if you have anything else to add or any questions, we'd love to address them. But I think that's about where we stand right now.
Are we going to wait for a clear report from Graves before we close the hearing?
That's what we normally would do.
How's it going, guys? My name's John. I'm actually going to be the client for that, going to be on the property. So basically, we kind of need like a concrete thing today on how we're going to move forward with this because of the contract, the way it's written up, and it's kind of going to kill the whole project if we don't kind of get like some kind of an answer of like how we're going to proceed with this tonight. So I just don't know how we move forward with this and furthermore.
Special permit and a site plan, and that takes time.
It's been 3 months.
I had a question. Have the abettors been informed? Has the public notice gone to them?
Sorry, what was that question?
So the neighboring houses, and I know there's a apartment community right behind this this facility. Have the notices gone out to the abettors, or
yeah?
The notices went out like 3 weeks ago, I believe, and everyone has been notified, and no one has came forward.
Did you say it's been 3 months?
We started the whole, it was like 2.5 months ago, but we couldn't get into a planning board meeting for a month and a half. We started this in June. We applied for the permit.
June isn't 3 months away.
It was like 2 months ago. It was like the first week of June, or I believe it was, but the way the COVID stuff lined up, it was very hard to get into a meeting. And so that's the way it lined up.
Yeah, but you haven't been waiting on the planning board for 3 months.
No.
I should say, for your knowledge, Jonathan, I'm definitely sympathetic to your issue, but even if we close the public hearing tonight, we wouldn't have a decision for you at least until at the earliest August 10th, when we have a decision drafted up. Okay. And our typical process is to wait for the updated plans and our peer review to say that yes, this is adequate for what we need.
Okay.
I wouldn't feel comfortable voting in favor without that myself.
And even after you get our decision voted on,
right,
you still have 3 weeks for the appeal period.
Okay.
So that's not going to fit the schedule you just told us you have to meet.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, this is John Grenier again. And Jonathan, jump in if I'm misrepresenting anything, but from my conversations with Jonathan, I think he wants a level of comfort, knowing that his business operation will be able to work for him on this site, especially hours of operation, like I mentioned earlier. So even if it's not closed, and I told him from an engineering perspective, I'm sure we can address everything that Graves had put in their comment letter. That's really not a concern for me in terms of engineering, but I want him to feel comfortable that he'll be able to use the site as he needs to in order to run his business properly. So I think that might be where what Jonathan is getting at.
Right.
Where's the 7 a.m. limitation?
You guys told us that last meeting.
Did we? Chris?
Yes, I believe there's a standard hours of operation of, I believe it's 7 a.m. to, is it 8 p.m. for construction, I believe?
Oh, that's construction.
Yeah.
That's
I do recall when I mentioned briefly last meeting that there was, when the hours of operation came up and the noise that we would expect with the property came up, I mentioned in relation to our typical decision language that says the 7 a.m. I don't recall knowing of anything in the town bylaws or anything that says that there can't be anything earlier than that. I was just citing it for like a reference in terms of how we typically treat the idea of the hours of operation for the construction process and
So there-
how that would be. So I'm not aware, at least to myself, of anything that explicitly prohibits it or necessarily needs a decision from the planning board in regards to noise levels at that time for business operations, but I could be mistaken.
I will say that just a quick look at the zoning bylaw, there is nothing in there that restricts hours of operation of any business with the exception of one type of business, which is not applicable here. Construction hours is a whole different thing, and that's what we're talking about here. The question is allowed hours of operations, and there are plenty of businesses in town that are open for business earlier than 7 a.m. Much later than say 7 or 8 p.m. So I'm not aware of anything that would limit the hours of operation. If the town had some sort of a truck noise ordinance or bylaw or something like that, you could conceivably run into something like that, but I don't believe we do.
No.
And I think unless anybody on the board has a problem with hours of operation as early as 6 a.m., you could probably go away from tonight being confident that there are no showstoppers here.
Okay. Yeah, just because when you guys, I don't know who exactly brought it up last meeting, but that just kind of was like a red flag that you guys had was the hours of operation, and the noise part of the factor. So we just kind of want to get like a concrete answer of like where that stood and if there was actually a law, which said there's not. So that kind of gives us more of a standpoint of where we're at.
I just had one question. So I do live up Milford Road. I'm not an abater because this property is not near my house. But from a noise point of view, do we expect that there will be trucks running at 6 a.m., like just standing there idling, loading stuff? Is that is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, so most of our trucks are just start up and go. All of our stuff's like new and up to date as far as emissions and everything. So nothing is you're not hearing this big loud old truck coming down the road. That's not what we have. It's all mostly pickup trucks. We do have a couple big trucks, but nothing that's going to be loud that's going to wake you up or disturb your peace at your residence.
And this is
Thank you.
Just to clarify, this is a landscaping company, right? Not a manufacturing or anything of that kind.
Correct.
And so,
no, go ahead.
So the business operations are basically bringing the material, offloading the material, and then going their way.
The thing is that manufacturing, for the most part, is indoors, whereas the activities we're talking about here in the early morning are outdoors. It sounds like so. Outdoors is closer, people can hear it better. Worse. I think we probably are not going to close the hearing tonight.
It does sound to me like maybe there is enough of a consensus on the board as to how a decision ought to be drafted. The staff in particular should have, staff can confirm this, but if staff has a good sense of what the board would likely want to see in a decision, we can keep the hearing open. We've done this frequently. Keep the hearing open for the purpose of getting final plans and final reports on the assumption that nothing major is going to change. A draft decision, say we continue this to the next meeting on August 10th, a draft decision could be ready for the board to review and approve immediately following closing of the public hearing.
That would be great.
So if that's a plan that's acceptable to the board, then let's do it. It requires I guess, well, it doesn't require a formal motion at this point, but staff can begin work on drafting a decision. And the applicant needs to provide us with a written request, verbal for the moment, followed up with a written request to continue.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, drafting that decision, if I could get the board's feedback and potentially the applicants, I think I may have a condition that may be mutually amenable in terms of the noise. I'm not sure what exactly the existing vegetation on the site is, but if some landscaping features along the outside of the property could be included as a condition, that may allow them to showcase their landscaping as well as provide some noise relief to any surrounding properties.
Yeah, I think it'd be a really good idea.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have been by the property, but it's pretty beat up right now. So we're gonna do some renovations outside and really bring it up to standards of what our standards are for especially a landscaping company. So we're more than willing to work with you guys, whatever you guys think that would be the best for the noise and for the showcasing of the property, whatever you feel that is best.
I want to say, and I think in the past, we have granted special permits with a condition, one or more conditions around landscaping that basically says that you work with the town planner to develop some landscaping details and run those by the board. So that's something that we've, a number of times in the past, we've left that up to following up on the issuance of the permit to work out some landscaping details. But yeah, I have to agree. I think that using the opportunity to improve the landscape in this particular place, a great way to showcase your business and also to add a little bit of noise control, improvement of aesthetics. Can't go wrong that way, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So would you guys want us to get something drawn up or kind of just go with what we think is best? What is the best thing you guys want to do here?
Well, I think that you need to say that you request the hearing be continued until our next meeting.
August 10th.
Hmm?
It'd be August 10th.
Correct. I think because we have the hearing open, if there is some kind of a landscaping plan that could be presented before that time, that may be helpful as well.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, we can do
put
that.
together.
I will say
Jonathan,
as well. Oh, go ahead, Prabhu.
Prabhu?
Sorry. I had one question. So Jonathan, just to be clear, none of your trucks are going to be parked or idling on Milford Road, right?
No, everything will be in the rear or inside. Like a lot of the trucks will be parked inside and there's a door in the back. So they'd be coming out the back door and going right and driving right off the property. Nothing will be out front idling. Nothing will be stored out front. It's going to be a clean look and it will keep everything out back off the viewing of the road, especially with the new landscaping and everything. So be a quite nice property.
Thank you.
Milford Road.
And all I was going to say as well is that the residential properties that would be the people that would be most likely concerned with noise are pretty much across the street from this property and a little bit more north rather than directly, directly on the same side of the road as this. So That would be
That's
where
correct.
the vehicles being in the back will help, as will the vegetation for landscaping. Primarily, street side is what's going to matter for noise reduction. Not so much along the perimeter. Is for my own articulation.
Yeah, we're pretty far off the road in the back, so I don't think we'll have a problem with the noise because we're so far off and so open, and there's so much vegetation around we're still leaving a lot of vegetation around the back and side. So, especially like you said, with the landscape in the front, I think we'll be good.
Okay. Chris, anything else? We'll take a vote on continuing the hearing. Is there anything else?
No, not for me.
All right.
I'll move that we accept the applicant's forthcoming written request and current verbal request to continue the hearing until August 10th at 7:30 p.m.
Let's see now. Was that Justin making that motion?
Yes, Justin, sorry.
Second, Linda.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. David.
All right.
Justin.
Aye.
Linda.
Aye.
Rabu.
Aye.
And I vote aye. The motion carries.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, and we'll get that request right off to Chris.
Good. Okay.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
Moving on to request for modification of site plan approval SPA 2017-1.1 at 126 Worcester Street, continued from July 13th. Chris, what can you tell us?
Just a minute, I'll pull up the plans. Not sure if the applicant is here either.
We're talking 126 Worcester Street, right?
Yes.
I see the applicant's face right in front of me. Dr. O'Malley is here.
And Pete Engel from McClure Engineering, also present.
So according to my notes, after our last hearing, Graves completed a review, forwarded that to the applicant's engineer. Applicant's engineer responded to that review, and Graves has just today sent a follow-up to that. I don't recall, just skimming it over, I don't recall seeing a lot of open issues left. Project was before conservation, scheduled on the 21st of July. We'll be interested in hearing how that's going. It sounds like there's not a lot left.
Yeah, so this is Peter Engel with McClure Engineering. There was really only two open-ended comments from Graves left. One having to do with landscaping, potential landscaping for the additional parking spaces, and the other being performing a confirmatory soil test pit at the time of construction for the subgrade infiltration systems. We were in front of conservation last week, or on the 21st. That was continued. There were really no issues. It was continued based upon waiting for Graves' review, as well as waiting for a DEP file number to be given to the project. But, through that hearing, there was really no issues brought up by the commission themselves.
Okay. Well, what do we want to do?
I have a question. Bob.
Go.
Looking at all these site plans, revised site plans, and all the peer review process, this is only for expanding the parking area. increasing the parking area by about 4 or 5 additional parking lots. Maybe, pardon my ignorance, but is it an overkill for a proposal of this nature, wherein there seems to be so much of paperwork and approval process and all this, or is that the standard process? We have 2 sets of engineering drawings. There's a revised plan, site plan, and then there's the peer review process by Graves Engineering. Unless I missed something, I still trying to wrap my head around this.
Well, it falls under site plan review. A site plan review is required. The bylaw lays down what you have to do. I think we have the opportunity to waive some requirements. I know we do on the special permit. I think we do on the site plan. So that's, the way that would play out, I would think. Chris, any comment?
So the only thing, obviously, we haven't done a draft decision yet, but one of GEI's comments is a discussion on the vegetation bordering the site and that requirement of the zoning bylaw. So they note that the applicant would be willing to consider a condition in the decision to address planting of trees.
Okay. So
yes, if that's what the board felt was necessary, the majority of that site is wooded. There would be 1 tree in front coming down for that expanded asphalt, and there is a row of large evergreen arborvitae type trees on one side of the property line. So we didn't want to propose unnecessary plantings if the board didn't feel it was a necessity for 5 spots.
The other thing I noticed, just to call it out, is in Graves' comments there, number 9, the hydrology section about the soil testing as a condition. Is that, Chris, do you think that's something that we'd want to hear from conservation? Do you think that's something that has typically happened elsewhere, just to kind of ask it?
Yeah, so
as a condition.
Sorry, my understanding of that comment is similarly a condition would be required, not necessarily through conservation, but essentially as written in that Graves comment, that the soil testing would be completed prior to building permits being issued, and then it would have to be essentially provided to the planning board for their review and approval prior to the issuance of a building permit.
more questions?
Just to confirm what I believe I heard earlier, that the outcome of the conservation hearing was really they were just waiting on 2 things in order to close. One is the issuance of a DEP file number, and the other is the Graves report. Graves report that we've seen is presumably also going to serve the needs of conservation. And there's nothing really troubling in the Graves report. So I would just want to make sure we're clear that we're not expecting the next conservation hearing to result in any changes to the proposed plans.
Correct. That is our assumption from the result of that conservation hearing.
Yeah, you understand the concern here that if we're on the brink of closing the meeting, closing the hearing, at which point we can't receive any more, anything more into the record. So if something happened over at conservation, you'd be back here with a new, needing a new application probably.
And
The next,
for the
the next conservation isn't until what, late August,
August 18th.
18th? Yeah.
And then our following meeting after that is the following Monday, the 24th.
Well, what's the applicant's preference as far as closing the hearing, given all that?
Would it be, I guess, similar to the previous project? I'm sure if you were to close the meeting tonight, you'd have to draft a decision for the next meeting. I mean, would it make sense to do the same thing as that previous project and keep it open, but request that a decision be drafted during that time?
Yeah, I think we do that when mostly when we think there isn't too much problem, or too much unsettled aspects. This seems to be pretty.
Nothing I've heard suggests that we're going to receive any significant new information over the next 2 weeks. I mean, the next thing from conservation is not likely to happen before the 18th. And I don't believe we're expecting anything else. So unless we wanted to put off our vote on a decision till after conservation, which would mean toward the end of August, if we don't want to, and if we don't feel a need to put it off until then, in this case here, we could probably close tonight and vote on a draft decision in 2 weeks.
Well, is there a reason? I thought we had something where we might want to keep it open until the next time.
And in fact, operationally, it doesn't really matter. We could keep it open for 2 weeks or close it tonight. The outcome is going to be the same.
Yeah.
2 weeks, we'll have a draft decision to work on. So,
Chris, okay?
If I may, I believe by keeping the hearing open, if the applicant is amenable, it sounds as they are, that just provides additional flexibility should anything come up on the conservation process.
This is becoming very popular.
yeah, well, in this case here, there's no motivation to close tonight.
Right. Okay, well, does the applicant want to ask us to continue the hearing until the next meeting?
Yes, and what would that be, August 10th?
I believe so.
All right, so Dave will move that the board grant the applicant's written request to be received to continue this hearing to Monday, August 10th at 7:30 p.m.
Linda second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Lacking discussion. David?
Aye.
Justin?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Prabhu?
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries.
And staff has another draft decision to work on.
Yep. We'll see you then.
Sounds good. Have a good night.
Good luck.
Busy.
This is now. I think we're on to major residential special permit 2019-12 and preliminary plan approval at 124R North Street and other addresses, continued from June 22nd. Where do we stand, Chris?
So I do believe we received additional plan sets on the 27th today. I have not had a chance to review those. I can pull them up though for the board. Sorry. There's both a conventional and a flexible subdivision plan. It takes me a little bit of a minute to pull that up.
While you're pulling that up, Chris, just to say out loud, there was the application package for this project was received about 49 weeks ago in the middle of August 2019. Is there any sort of approvals that happen automatically, is like shot clock kind of situation with this project?
So currently the, under the governor's orders for the remote meetings, part of that included a suspension of the shot clocks and decision deadlines. I do note it's been the policy of the board to try and track those and to request that the continuances still be included, just as a matter of kind of belt and suspenders, if you will.
Yes, my interest was primarily in the case of if the governor's order ends tomorrow for some reason, which I don't suspect is happening, but if it did, you know, where would we be on the shot clock? That's kind of where I was wondering.
Understood. And to be frank, I think it's a little bit of a gray area because it did suspend the shot clocks and did not, to my understanding, provide direction of what happens after that expires in terms of the shot clocks. So that was part of the belt and suspenders policy of staying on top of those deadlines.
For some reason, when I try to call up the July 27th conventional subdivision plan, I get a blank page. I do get the a plan for flex.
I can pull it.
Yes, I'm getting the same thing, Bob.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so am I.
Yeah, and they came in
Okay.
after I last did my homework. But I don't see there's looks to me like there hasn't been any change in the getting clearance from the turnpike for the North Street entrance. Is that correct?
Are you asking the applicant, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. Hassler?
Well, whoever knows.
Okay. So if I can introduce our team tonight, we can start answering some of the questions and give you an update. Again, I'm Eli Leno from Mayor Antonellis, Jackowitz, and Haranis. I'm joined tonight by Scott Goddard, who is the project principal and the manager of Circle Assets, the applicant. And then actually two of our other members are on the attendees line. I'm wondering if Vito Colonna, the project engineer, could be brought in, as well as Lloyd Bristol, who is our traffic consultant. Both of them have updates to give now that we've gotten back the ANRAD from COMCOM. And I know that we've been continuing trying to speak with the Turnpike Commission, but having a little bit of a hard time as obviously COVID has slowed down staffing on things like that as well, but we are working toward it. I think in terms of changes to the plans, Vito Colonna, the project engineer, is probably the best person to direct questions to. And I see Vito has now been brought into the meeting, so thank you.
Okay. Well, do you have anything specific?
Oh, there we go. All right. The really only change with the plans was basically the wetland line was confirmed. You really wouldn't notice much on the plans. It's just the wetland delineation was confirmed through the ANRAD process through conservation. Yep, there we go. There's a good plan. So really it's just the wetland line is slightly different. The layout of all the lots, the subdivision, the design, everything else is the same as you last saw it. So that's really what's been going on since the last meeting, from the plan content end.
Can you point on the map? What changed?
So basically the wetland changes, there was some changes down near the entrance up in here. Oh yeah, you don't have my mouse on there. Down near the entrance, there was some changes. The small little pocket of wetland down the lower center of the screen, that got changed back and forth. It was actually classified as isolated land subject to flooding now. And then on the remainder of the wetlands, there was small tweaks in and out, a few feet here, a few feet there. Nothing that's too major. There was no, reclassifications of any of these larger wetlands with, a perennial stream or anything like that that would have major impacts. It was more just sort of tweaks here and there.
Have any questions?
Is it easy to educate me in 1 or 2 sentences on what changes the wetland delineations over time?
Sure. And Scott is on the call too. He was actually at the conservation hearings, and he was kind of the lead person on the, dealing with the delineations with the.
I mean, I can
town.
comment on that, Vito.
Yeah.
This is Scott Goddard. And so, basically wetland delineations are subject to state law and local law definitions, but then field implementation is subject to professional opinions and, sort of in the field determination. So that's why when an applicant presents a wetland boundary to the Conservation Commission, it's not uncommon for them to have peer review go out and independently verify the wetland line. So in this case, there was, 95% agreement on the wetland line. And then, in the field, it was discussions of, can this flag adjust this way, that way, or the other thing. So it's really just coming to a mutual agreement on with the ground conditions justify, seasonal modification changes based on, weather, and the plants that are visible are come and go, but what doesn't come and go are soil characteristics that are able to be looked at. So really the Conservation Commission has to make a finding that the wetlands as shown on this plan, which is what you have here, are definitive and now bound for 3-year period of time for all regulatory purposes. So you as the planning board can know that what we show on this plan is what is and what will continue to be for the duration of this permitting process, both with you guys and with the Conservation Commission. So Vito updated the site plan to include the wetland upland ratios, because that's important for planning board purposes. And until the wetland line is confirmed, you can't know that those numbers are consistent with the requisites of your bylaw. So that table is updated on this plan.
Yeah, we had to go through, confirm every lot has its required upland area. So we did confirm that. So, that's something that, as Scott said, the board, would need to know before they could possibly move forward.
Now, Lloyd Bristol is the traffic engineer. He was having some computer troubles on getting audio to work. He said he was going to try to call in. Lloyd, can you hear us and can you communicate if you're on this call?
Let me see if
he was going to use the call-in phone number because his computer audio.
I was just working with him,
Yeah.
trying to get him onto the Zoom call too.
All right, let me see if this, there's only one phone call, so let me see it, phone number, so let me see if that's,
What was the number on it? Was it
I don't want to say
7?
that publicly.
Oh, sorry.
Ending in 0531.
No, that wasn't his. He was 7258.
Okay.
So I think he was trying to log on through Zoom. Actually, he was just on the call with my wife, actually trying to figure out how to do it. I don't know if you got his audio to work though.
Yeah, I thought I saw Lloyd Bristol. Is that the full name?
Yep, that would be it. If it's
Yeah, he was on the side. I saw that he was here.
Is he still an attendee?
I'm not seeing it now. No.
And also, I'm not sure. I just got my audio said it was kicked over to a phone that wasn't my phone. So I'm wondering if because we're using the same login, he's trying to come in over my line. And if he does again, I'll just let it happen and see if he can talk. This doesn't happen when we're all in a room together.
He says that he can't get audio, but he can see and hear everybody that's going on, but he can't seem to talk. I'm texting with him right now.
Has he looked at his preferences, his Zoom preferences and all that?
If he's able to join as an attendee again, I can change his permission. I just don't see him right now. So I apologize for that.
So Lloyd did submit a updated traffic study that came in, that was emailed to the staff, your staff today. So that's on file. And I can summarize the thrust of that report, and I understand the commission would not have had a chance to yeah, he's texted me saying that phone call-in number sort of just, he would call into it and it would hear it and then it would disconnect on the planning board's phone number. So I don't know, but regardless, the report that has been submitted to the planning board was supporting the traffic patterns for this project. It was in support of the emergency access as an appropriate secondary means of egress for the flexible development plan. And I believe it meets the intent of the purpose of a conventional plan having two means of access. It was also addressing the traffic patterns along North Street, showing how this project would satisfy sort of the status quo of normal traffic patterns in the area, wouldn't significantly disrupt traffic in the area. Furthermore, he was going to give an update to the mass highway efforts that are underway. It does take a while to secure the easements needed through mass highway, but that is a process that is underway. Peter, do you want to add anything more to that about the his traffic report that he submitted today?
And just that on the DOT process, there's limited staff in the offices right now. So I know that stuff like this isn't, always a super high priority when they're short staffed like this. So it is going to take possibly even a little longer than it normally would. So we had some form of an update, but nothing at all, nothing definitive at this point. But just to know that it is in the process, it just is slow and kind of slower than normal. They would normally see at this time. And I think for the traffic study too, there was a couple other pieces in there, verifying we had, adequate site distances. There was a full study in there, just to verify all that information. And then as Scott said, I also went through the study that Lloyd had, and it didn't show any reduction level of services, at all these intersections and all the roadways out there. There was, minimal impact from the subdivision itself.
When was that report submitted or received in our office?
Today.
It would have been today with the other information.
Yeah, and I don't see it on our meeting materials.
Yeah, I don't believe it was uploaded. Was that also submitted electronically?
Correct.
Be aware, you said easement, as far as the turnpike goes, you said easement, but I have an additional concern. I went out back early in this and stood at my best estimate of where a car would be coming out of that exit. And I had the bridge abutment, the above ground part of the bridge, looking like it was causing visibility problems too. Mm-hmm. So I want to be sure that we don't think that just getting an easement agreement is sufficient. We're going to have to drill down into it a bit more. Maybe, well, at some point, I think we'll be staking out the exact places on the drawing and being able to go out and take a look for ourselves.
Yeah, and once you get a chance to go through that information, I know it was obviously short notice. There is a full analysis in there on the site distances, showing what's the requirements, what's been provided, a full breakdown in there, so you can get a look at that. So it does show that, there is a safe site distance out there.
Yeah, well, I know that I wasn't comfortable with what I saw considering the size of this development. So we'll see about it somewhere down the way. Is there more that we can do today? We, are you looking to continue to another date?
Well, I mean, I would assume that the board's gonna need time to digest all the new information that has just been submitted. You know, largely the questions revolved around traffic, the access, and the confirmation of wetlands. So, you know, we're glad we've been able to provide that information, but understanding that it's just been newly presented to you.
Yeah, we just finished conservation, so we just wanted to make sure we came in, updated you, and, you know, at least went over briefly what the changes were, and, you know, briefed the information before you had a chance to look at it. That's all.
And there was one question. I think we spoke about it last time. The link to the dead end. Do we have that information? What's the link to the
On the flex, it's about 2,100 feet.
That was.
Okay, there we go. It was about 2,100 feet, and then there's that emergency access, the secondary access off the end, up to Weston Street.
But I don't favor emergency exits like that. I don't know whether anybody else feels one way or another. We'll probably have to look at that a little harder when we get a little closer.
Bob, I'm not able to hear you. I'm not sure if it's just me. It was very feeble.
Yeah,
What'd you say?
that was quiet, Mr. Hassinger. I'm sorry. I think we'd all be interested to hear what you had to say about the access.
Said that I am always very reluctant to go with these emergency accesses. So that's one person. And I assume we'll have to look at the plans a little more and look at your reports and whatnot. Everybody hear that?
I think there's no question that the board is going to need the time to review the new information, and not all of the new information has yet been posted to the board's website, but even if it had been posted at 4:30 this afternoon, there's no way we were going to digest it in time for tonight's meeting. So
No.
you've acknowledged that. Yeah, we've got new information that we will need to take time to review. So if nothing else, you know, I would expect that we'd be looking at a continuation to the August 10th meeting, unless there is something else that may need more time for review.
My only articulated question I want to say is I'd be interested in knowing like what the distance from the road and even the emergency, you know, from each areas of the road, like every cul-de-sac is, like the farthest point of like where lot 15 is to North Street or to the emergency access. Like having that information would help guide our further discussions on length of dead end road when it comes down to it. I don't need that today. I'm happy to hear that or receive it in a document somehow for next meeting that we have, but I wanted to just.
I don't
when
mean
I say lot 15, I'm talking about the flexible subdivision plan.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I see that Lloyd, the traffic engineer, is back on the attendees list. He might be better able to help you with some of that, obviously with the understanding that you'll still need time to digest that. So I don't know if we might be able to get Lloyd in for a brief discussion of what's in that report, just to help you on your beginning of the homework that's required reading on that.
Yeah, I know that until I've been able to study the report, I won't be fully able to complete with him, but anything anybody wants, anything he wants, within remembering that we have about 1,000 more hearings here.
Lloyd, are you on this call?
Yeah, I did promote him to a panelist. I'm not sure if we're able to hear him. He is on.
Yeah. Zoom shows his mic is not muted, but I don't hear anything yet.
Well, we're gonna have to work out some technical issues with Lloyd, I think, before August 10th.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're not gonna hear from Lloyd, I guess. We need to move along.
So we'll request a meeting continuation to this 10th.
Justin moves that we accept the applicant's forthcoming written request to continue the hearing till August 10th at 7:30 p.m.
Linda
Couple of
said,
seconds.
take it.
All right. I was just, I noticed there's already one Mullen certification in this hearing process. Every time we continue to another meeting, it opens up possibilities of problems with eligibility to vote. And also we lose the thread of what the project's about. This application was received 11 months ago. Whatever the board wants to do, but at some point before too long, I always say you get to a point where you want to start fresh when you're ready to go. So keep that in mind.
Well, if there's an administrative procedure you'd like us to perform before August 10th in order to facilitate, we can certainly work with Natalia or the board to accomplish that. It took a while to get with the COVID stuff and it took a while to get through the conservation stuff, which was a critical piece of this project.
Yep. My one piece is, of course, the turnpike thing, the North Street.
A final answer to that question certainly is going to take additional time.
Yeah, that's where I'm going is you could be months, many months, who knows? I mean, first of all, you have to get their attention. And then second of all, you've got to get them to agree to whatever you're asking them for. And at some point, you're better off to get that together before you keep coming back with more hearings.
Are you suggesting that it would make sense to postpone this process till we secure that easement and then reapply?
Well, that's what we've done in some past cases. Anybody, Chris?
So I mean, the only thing to consider there is that if they did request a withdrawal without prejudice, they'd be able to reapply. However, the board would have to consider, I don't know if the board would want to consider the waiver of, application fees that would have, to reapply, would have to,
I think we should.
the board could potentially vote on that beforehand, but
yeah, well, I'd take the view on that, because the application fees to some degree pay for our costs. If withdrawal and a resubmission, how much have we got done and how much do we have to do over again in terms of costs and so on?
is that a question to me?
Yeah, I suppose so.
So, I mean, to be frank, we have had a turnover of staff during that time, so I am kind of reviewing almost, not entirely from square one. There is the process of the documentation there, but it is taking me some time to get up to speed on some of the outstanding projects since I've.
Well, the question is how fair or unfair is it to ask for fees again? What should we do about asking for fees again if they withdraw in the way we're discussing?
I believe that'd be a question to see what the applicant's willing to do and what their impressions are, and the board could then react to that.
Well, we're gonna do something tonight, either continue or.
Well, think for now, it probably makes sense to continue to the August 10th meeting. We can discuss internally, and then if it makes sense to withdraw, we can submit a written request for withdrawal prior to the August 10th meeting.
I know we do have another project that we spent quite some time on, and then for various external reasons, they ended up deciding to withdraw, and they'll be coming back to us. It's not unheard of. And think of this: if this application is not withdrawn and we simply continue processing it, we're collecting no additional fees other than maybe peer review costs. So if it's withdrawn and then it comes back, it's kind of, yeah, I think it's arguably a fee waiver in that case would be appropriate. Since it's a withdrawal is sort of an extended continuation, if you will.
This is sort of a unique
Something to think about.
To the applicant, do you have any feel for what the DOT's timeline is even remotely? Are they giving you any clue?
Well, Vita, we're hearing what, 6 months or more from now, right?
From now.
From now? Oh, they're quick.
That's going to take us up to the election. Well, no, it isn't quite, but you'll be running up, getting close to
the end of the year
election, and potential changes of membership. So we'll have to see when we get down there how that is. But I don't see doing continuations for another 6 months. I think that.
You know, here's the one thing I can tell you, Mr. Chairman, is I'm getting texts from the traffic engineer as we're talking because he's unable to communicate. But he's saying that this type of easement granted is commonplace and should be more administrative than anything else. Which it surely should not be a deal breaker on kind of processing this application. It just says it just takes a long time. COVID delayed it, but he's expecting this to be sort of rubber stamped.
Yeah, all the feedback we've had has been, there's no negative feedback or anything. It's all just the process to go through, essentially.
So I guess I would ask this question: can the board act upon this application? And of course, the easement piece of it would have to be a condition of approval, right? I mean, obviously, they could not advance the project without having the easement in play.
Yeah, and we would obviously be back before you for a definitive plan where at that stage, you'd have to verify that that easement was in place.
Yeah, I was about to say, make kind of the same point that at this level, we're dealing with the MRSP and the preliminary plan. So, you're going to be back to us in any case with a definitive plan at some point in the future. So for the moment, I guess I would not be uncomfortable with continuing to the 10th. And we can think about all the things we've discussed tonight, and maybe have some follow-up thoughts, maybe some more definitive ideas, or stronger ideas about how best to proceed from there.
Well, we could act on it prior to getting these points settled, but I'll be voting no because I'm not satisfied with what we have. And you need all four others to be okay with it.
So in order to most favorably satisfy the desire for information of the board, that at least one, if not more, multiples may want to actually see the ability to secure the easement is what I'm hearing. Okay. Well, we'll take that under consideration, I think, but for the time being, I think it makes sense to continue to the 10th.
Okay, are you making that request?
Yes.
All right.
Dave will make the motion. Grant the applicant's written request to be received to continue the hearing to August 10th at 7:30 p.m.
And Justin seconds.
Moved and seconded. Discussion.
All right, just to clarify, do we also want to just include the decision deadline as discussed earlier?
Yes.
Yes, I will assume that the written request will include a request to extend the decision deadline.
Of course.
an appropriate date.
Yes.
Further discussion? Hearing none. David,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Linda,
Aye.
Prabhu,
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries. We'll see you the next time.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you.
We'll see you.
Well,
Okay, I guess that's it, right?
Mhm.
All righty. How did I do that? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, there it is.
5 done, 3 to go.
Yeah, it's getting out of hand here. 3 screens and nowhere near enough to do this job. Okay, we're going to, now, are we gonna listen to both of these together? We have 2 different Carroll Road items. We have a MRSP 2020-3 at 18 Carroll Road and a definitive plan at 18 Carroll Road, DP 2020-1.
I do note the applicant Zach Couture is available to speak. They may have a preference on how they want to present.
Okay, let's hear them.
Good evening, everybody. Zach Couture, Dates T. I believe at our last meeting, we did take them up both at the same time. So if amenable to the board, we can just carry on the same way this go around.
Okay.
Hey, Bob. One input. Both of these for Chris, both when we click on either of them, both of them take us to 2023. I'm not able to open up 2021 though.
I just opened.
Yeah,
plan. Well, it actually what I opened has both. Or
It has the one I have. It says 2023, and then there is a reference to 2021. Is it just both one and the
Right.
same?
And I believe the other one opens with 2021 and then references 2023. So they reference each other just to, since they're kind of in a way joined in presentations, but they're also separate applications, if that.
Okay.
Are there any exhibits past 15? Because that's all I'm seeing on my list.
say that again. Oh, you're seeing.
Is there an exhibit 16 on either page of these? Because I only see up to 15.
Only see 15.
Yeah, the last one I see is the continuation request, June 2020, 22nd, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I see too.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I can actually speak to that.
Yeah.
So there actually hasn't been any new plans sent your way. So at our last meeting, we were basically waiting on the conservation to issue their comments and Graves Engineering. We actually were issued comments from the Conservation Commission. They were very minor. One was just to certify the wetlands, have the wetland sign to certify it. We actually just received approval for them last week. And then we were just waiting on Graves Engineering's second letter, which to my recollection did not have any further comments. So that's why the plan set is the same from our previous meeting.
So what do we need?
So the accurate plan set, let's see, is the one from back in May. That is, zoom in on this to see it right. Where's the date? That is dated February 11, 2020. Is that accurate?
No, so we did submit a revised set of plans, but it was before our last meeting in June. So, yeah, June revision date, I believe.
I'm seeing, the last plan set I'm seeing on online is a May 11th revised definitive subdivision plan.
That
Yeah, the cover sheet of that plan that I'm looking at does show the date of February 11, 2020. That's what I was looking at.
Oh, I see. Yes, and I'm actually looking at the Graves response, and that was from the plans were from May 13th. So yeah, that is the most current plan.
Okay.
So, what's new?
So again, as we left it off in our last meeting, I believe a couple board members were looking at a parcel that abutted our property that the town owned, and there was going to be some exploration on access. And we were just basically waiting on Graves to give their blessing and Concom approval, which we did receive. So my question to the board would be, has there been some discussion about access potentially off of Abbey Road or for their parcel that abuts that, or would they use their own access? That's basically where we left it off.
Yeah, I don't think the board has discussed it as of yet. Speaking for myself, I did spend some time looking at that. And what I observed was that between Abbey Road and the abutting parcel, there is almost pretty much a continuous, substantial portion of wetlands that would effectively block any hope of connecting Abbey Road to that adjacent parcel. Had those wetlands not been there, there were some other interesting or potentially interesting considerations, but just noting the presence of the wetlands basically precludes any possibility of extending Abbey Road to the parcel boundary and beyond.
Yeah, I thought that we found, or someone, maybe me, noticed something about a possible access, but as is so often the case, it's been so long, I don't remember. Well,
like I said, if the wetlands were not there, I could see an opportunity for a useful access.
Well, I think that long ago, we looked at something in this immediate area and ran into the same thing. I mean, this is years ago.
Quite likely. It turns out that town-owned parcel adjacent to it has some interesting potential problems with respect to access to it.
Yeah, that's
not a topic for discussion tonight, but
no, well,
another time, another context.
So, what do we need to do?
Oh, Mr. Chair, I will say first off, just to ask it and address it, if we can, is that on the Graves document that looks like it was returned June 19th, since I don't have any updated plans, they did call out that their item number 11, the bearings have not been revised. The bearings are on sheet 2, not on sheet 3, as we commented earlier. Is that just to help me understand what is going on with that item in particular?
Oh, apologies. Yes. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. And I'm glad to catch that. So what it is looking at the plan set, they called it out on sheet 2 before the bearing, but the bearing was labeled correctly. Then they revised it to say that it was actually on sheet 3. What it is one of the easement lines, the bearing label, I'm trying to explain this in the way that could be, are we looking at sheet 3? If we could turn to that, Chris. It's one of the bearing labels. It's just a typo. It just needs to be corrected. That is apparently the only outstanding item. Everything else seems to be, everything else is acknowledged in terms of the drainage report, any plan revisions, those are all set. So it looks like there was just a typo on one of the bearings, which would be easily correctable.
Okay.
And so my inclination is to always have the most accurate set of plans in our record for any decision. So at least for me, I'm just saying it out loud, is that I would personally like to keep this open until we have that updated plan, even though it's a minor typo, and have and possibly have a decision made, a draft decision written up before our next meeting, which we can vote on then with the updated plan in place.
That would come with a request to continue the hearing.
Yes, it would, Mr. Chair.
Would you like to do that?
So my question would be whether I asked you to condition that minor typo change or a continuance. I believe it would kind of be the same outcome because the draft of the decision hasn't even been typed up yet, correct?
Correct.
Right, and it's if there's nothing to be sacrificed, it's probably better to just keep it open so that it just lands in the record without going around that.
Yeah. So yeah, if we were heading towards, we'd have to come back for the August 10th meeting anyways, and I'm okay with continuing and leaving it open.
All right. Do we have a motion, or is there anything else before I ask for a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I did note there was a mark in the attendees list that raised their hand, but for some reason they seem to have fallen off of they either disconnected right after that. Oh, he may have joined back in. The name is just Mark. I guess, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like, I can try to allow them to speak and see if they had a comment or if it was.
Okay, go ahead. Mark, are you there? Hello, Mark. Oh, Mark is muted.
Yeah, I did click ask to unmute. It doesn't seem like they're gonna speak, so I'll just put them back, but they can raise their hand if they have additional questions, or obviously use the chat or Q&A as well. Those are available.
Well, worst comes to worst, they can speak to us at the next meeting. I think we have the request to continue. We need a motion on that.
All right, Dave will make said motion. Or grant the applicant's written request to be received to continue the hearing to August 10th at 7:30 p.m.
Second.
Justin seconds.
With the expectation that staff will work on drafting yet another decision for the board to deliberate on the 10th.
We'll be busy.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, it's moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. David?
Aye.
Justin?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Prabhu?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you. We'll see you then.
See you folks August 10th. Thank you.
Okay, good luck. Now then, the next item on my list is the one that we acted on earlier. Granted a continuance until August 10th for the special permit 2020-04 and site plan approval at 274 Providence Road. That brings me to H. Request for special permit 2020-6 and site plan approval at 80 Snow Road. A hearing, blah, blah, blah. Um, 20. Chris.
Yes, 2020-06 and 2021. I do see James Tetro is on the call. I'll defer to him again as whether or not they should be heard together.
Proposing something there more than a two-family house, because technically that lot isn't really suitable for a two-family, but via the Dover Amendment, we can't, it comes through in a different way. One thing isn't clear to me is who is bringing that forward? What is, what organization is proposing to use that under the Dover Amendment? That hasn't been transparent what they're talking about putting there. And I think that the people, the local people, the abutting neighbors really deserve a chance to know exactly what is being proposed there. The other question I want to know is, if we are putting something there, if something is going to be approved because it's coming in under the Dover, is there a way to assure that if there's a change of status to that site, that it can't happen? That change can't be allowed. It has to remain permanent. Just as when we approve people put in an accessory apartment, that accessory apartment is only there for that duration. And after that, if you want to use it again as an accessory apartment, you have to apply to us and say, exactly what it is, or it, must go away. I don't understand who it is who's even bringing it in as Dover, what it is that they're proposing to put there. Is it going to be a daycare center? Is it going to be housing for people who have some sort of requirements?
So,
that hasn't been presented at all.
So in a way it has. So just to clarify, at the previous meeting, they did mention, and the applicant can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it was Mass Brain Injuries, which is a kind of company that assists with brain injury patients for live-in care, and so they do qualify under the Dover agreement that was reviewed by town council who agrees. So they do provide essentially educational programs for these kind of live-in patients, and that qualifies them for Dover. So just to clarify in the process, how that works is they are still before us for site plan, but in terms of the use, the special permit, they're not before us on lot 3 for special permit, only for the site plan. And so that in a way changes our review requirements for that lot and what we can kind of consider as conditions, but
So there's no way to require that if they decide not to do that there in a future time, that they
Right.
can just sell it as a regular place.
Sorry, and to that point, I did reach out to town council. I haven't received a response yet. So I'll continue to try and get a town council's opinion on that. However, in the meantime, I would say that I think that it would qualify as a change in use. And so they would need to, in that eventuality, if that were to happen, they would have to come back before the board. We could also include a condition to, again, kind of belt and suspenders approach, make sure that that's clear that if there is a change in use, they do have to come back before the board.
And what would happen if they came back before a planning board and the planning board said no?
Yeah.
Tear down the building?
So then, I mean, if the board said no, they would have to obviously present the reasoning behind the no, and whether it's a special permit. It's hard to say because it's a little bit theoretical where what they would be proposing instead of it, but essentially they would have to find an amenable use of the property to the board's satisfaction before they could move forward with that new use.
Well, I think that we're creating a problem with this that we don't need to. If they got a special permit at this point, it would take away this problem. For me, it's a serious problem. I also, but we have, I don't see him, Gregory, I can't say his name.
Mr. Puchel is on the attendee list.
Yeah, he's not here, is he?
He's in the attendee list. I can.
Oh, because he has comments, and I know that he submitted comments to us, and we probably should cover that ground. The other thing, though, is that one of what he resubmitted was a fairly broad petition, which gives me pause when I come to vote on compatibility.
Yes, and for my own sake as well, regarding the Dover Amendment, we don't have anything in our exhibits on the website that says anything about the Dover Amendment here. It doesn't say what the use is. It doesn't say anything about our council's opinion that it qualifies. It doesn't tell us if both domiciles on lot 3 are under the Dover Amendment, just one. There are a handful of things in terms of that I would like on our record, even if we're not voting on it as a special permit. I think it makes absolute sense to be in our record.
So I do believe the town council opinion was given via email. I do believe that was included in the exhibits. I will double check, but essentially the Dover amendment negates the requirement for special permit. So I can also request a more formal opinion from town council, but they did provide their opinion that
yeah, I do not see it in our exhibits for lot 3.
I've been looking for it.
And I really wish that we had something from the organization, like a letter. I think that, again, the neighborhood deserves to have transparency and have them come through and basically introduce themselves and say what they're proposing. I think it's just it's not been handled well. That's another question is it going to be one half of the house? This is a 2-family, or is it going to be the entire structure that's going to be kind of involved in that? Because if it's only one half, again, that's a little bit sneaky.
Well, I'm not, it'd take some convincing to make me think that that was an acceptable Dover. If only half of the property is being used with an eligible use. So anyway, there are obviously open questions. There's
Can you hear me, Mr. Chairman? If I may, Mr. Tatro and Venkasa are both on the call. They may be able to provide some light on that.
Well, we need, that's fine. That's fine, but we need documentation. Go ahead.
First of all, Mr. Chairman, this is James Tatro from Thompson Liston Associates. In regard to Lot 3, where the applicant is CIL Realty of Massachusetts, Inc., the intention from the beginning has been that both sides of the duplex be used by Mass Brain Injury Association. And again, we were upfront in working with town council to clarify the situation as to whether the Mass Brain Injury Association rehab and educational use qualified as a Dover Amendment use. There hasn't been any attempt to obfuscate anything. So I think a little bit almost the implication of some of the comments that there was in some way almost an attempt to hide something. There hasn't been.
No, but we haven't been adequately provided with information.
We have nothing.
Well,
I believe everything was submitted to town council. I believe everything was submitted to town council.
Well, I don't know anything about what town council has. I know what I have sitting here as a member of the planning board. That's up to people who work in the daytime.
So again, I can confirm that town council did agree that the Dover Amendment did apply for the Lot 3 use. I will, I was under the impression that that was included in the exhibits. I apologize if I did not forward that along. I will put that email into the
yes, and then we need
materials.
We need the what happens to a Dover property when the Dover no longer applies.
So
in some real detail.
So there is a restriction that's put on the deed to keep the house as a Dover. For MAB, there's a restriction. The Mass Brain Injuries, they sign 20-year leases with 2 5-year extensions. They're 30-year capital leases where at the end of the lease, then MAB owns the property and maintains the property as the Dover. But there are restrictions that will be recorded on the deed for CDAC for the funding that for the property and everything. So there is quite a bit that goes into the deed in order to restrict them to exactly what they are doing, and they need that for their funding from whether it's Mass Health or whoever is going in there, whoever's paying there from the state. They do need that restriction that's on the property.
Right. Well,
the people that are moving into the home, it's 80% of the people that are with MAB is stroke. So that's typically what you're getting is people, which could be any of us at any point of our lives. It's a great thing that they're doing. There's one person per bedroom. There's 3 bedrooms on each side, and there is people that care for them, that help them. I mean, it's a great thing that they're doing. This isn't there's no behavioral issues, there's no substance issues, there's nothing like that. I mean, these are regular people that had a stroke that now need assistance to live, and none of us are safe from this. So it's a great thing that they're doing, and it's a great thing that we're trying to do here.
But this is the information that we need.
Yeah. Well,
I believe everything was sent to town council. I mean, I can confirm that. You know, I'm sorry if, obviously, if it didn't get to you, and, you know, maybe we should have included that also. So I do apologize. But, you know, we did submit it to town council and got their opinion that it does qualify, and it does, you know, we do a lot of these. We have one in Hopkinton, we have 3 in Shrewsbury, we have, obviously, you know, we're working on this one. So we do work quite a bit with these. You know, like I keep saying, it's a great thing. It's not, you know, these people aren't coming in with behavioral issues where the neighbors have to worry and whatnot. It's, you know, the one that we have moving in right now are, you know, it's 4 older women that are moving into this house and that they're moving in next week. So we're doing a lot of these. It's a great thing.
I'm not arguing that. I think what we're saying, though, is that this is information that we should have been given, and also that the neighborhood should have had access to it.
So in order for us to go around a neighborhood, that's not something that we would do with a normal, you know, residential home and tell people, you know, who's moving into this. So it kind of gets us into a gray area where we push the line of discrimination. So we cannot do that. We could submit if the board asks for something, or, you know, with this, we have no issue submitting. But, you know, if John Smith moved into a house, I wouldn't go around and tell everybody John Smith was moving into this house. So it is a fine line that we walk with, you know, what's considered discrimination and what's.
What I think I got out of what Linda was saying is just the fact that submitting it to us, it goes onto our public webpage. It's public information. The residents in the neighborhood or anywhere in town, or even anywhere in the United States, if they really cared, could look at what was submitted for, you know, this property and what is in our public record that allows us to make an informed decision on our vote.
Right, and I would hope that, you know, the town council's letter would be able to be put onto the website or into the file that, you know, that we did supply him with all the information that he needed. And I do apologize that, you know, it should have gotten to you guys. And, you know, we should have done that.
Enough. We've been through this now like 4 times tonight. I think we understand all that.
All right, thank you.
I think there might be a difference, though, between saying Joe Smith is moving in next door to you and saying we have this organization, they do this program, this is the kind of things they do in there. And it would have helped you with the neighbors, I suspect. In any case, why is it that you don't want to do a special permit on this?
Mr. Chairman, if I could respond on that point. I've never met a client anywhere who wishes to put extra obstacles in front of himself.
Okay. Unless I'm totally happy with what happens after this doesn't have a Dover factor, I'm not going to vote in favor of it.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm
I can't tell a board member how to vote, but that would be a difficult thing to defend on a site plan approval application.
Yeah, well,
Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, the Dover amendment, and I will get the documentation from town council to kind of confirm this, but the Dover amendment makes it so that the special permit cannot apply.
I understand.
That's why they would not apply for it. In terms of what happens afterwards,
I understand that.
Get a review from town council and provide that to the board.
I understand that, but if they don't make the Dover claim and they just have a special permit, it's so much simpler.
No, it isn't.
Sure it is. Because then they don't have to have all of this.
Well, this would have been straightforward
All right.
if that information had come through.
Fine. No, I don't see any information about what happens when the Dover runs out. And I want to see that, because up at the top of our zoning bylaw, it says that what we're doing is making sure that we're upholding the law and following the zoning bylaw. And that's before we get down to specifics here. And if we have something that has got this problem, we need to look at it. And I'm really frustrated that we've asked at least a half a dozen times. And I heard about this and I was asking about it back months before you, Chris. And for some reason, I just haven't been able to get anybody to come forward with the information about this. So that really raises questions. So anyway, we understand that we need to get to that. And we don't have it tonight.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd like to touch upon a couple of the issues on the Graves engineering review, if I may.
All right.
In the comments on the Graves review letter just sent back today, there were two items that I think had needed some clarification. Just briefly, number 3, Jeff Walsh says that the display of structures within 200 feet of the site was not included in the plans, and actually on the last sheet D7, we added a locus map specifically to show these structures. I think maybe we just missed that, and was, of course, was reviewed. So just wanted to point that out.
Which plan is that? Is that 2020?
July
7th?
Yep. In the very last sheet, in the upper right corner, there's a locus map which was included specifically to address this issue of showing the butters and the structures within 200 feet of the property.
A locus map. You're talking about this snippet of a quad.
That's actually.
That's not what we usually get.
7 is actually the plan shrunk down and with the structures added.
I don't think we're looking at the same thing.
Are you looking on July 7, 2020 plan, sheet D7?
Not B. No.
D as in David.
D.
I don't see sheet numbers yet.
I have it up, Chris. If you let me share, I can certainly just share it if it's faster.
Yeah, I just changed the permissions, so.
So this corner is what they're talking about, if you can see that.
Yep. And the other item I wanted to touch on was number 14 from the Graves letter. I think Chris explained some of this earlier, that the reviewer, Jeff Walsh, was suggesting that in order to make conditions safer for construction vehicles, that the clearing and work to improve site distance should be done right away. And there's also language in there that, if I could boil it down, it seems to me to be the reviewer suggesting that the design engineer should also confirm the site distance provided once this clearing work has been done. He's not saying anything is wrong in our response there, but he suggests that the board members should add these specific conditions to accurately address the site distance issue. And we would have no objection to those being conditions of approval.
Yeah, I have a few comments on site distance, in particular on this report. If there's nothing further from you, James, before I get in. Sure. All right. So on the site distance plan, I'm kind of just looking at it and the associated documentation. It does say that the guidelines for 35 miles per hour, which this is 30, is 250 feet, if I remember reading that correctly. Is that
correct? You had to convert from metric. The AASHTO book is very helpful in just giving you metric, but the nearest round number is 250 feet.
Okay, yes. And I will say, from my travels on that road, quite often, I typically see cars that are using it as through traffic, especially from like East Street or, you know, even Westboro Road, you know, essentially going through there and traveling typically at 40 or higher, like 40 to 45, even through that corner, which is a relatively tight corner for that, you know, for Snow Road. And if what I looked up in a little bit of Google, you can tell me if I'm incorrect on this, the stopping distance on dry land is about 305 feet at 40.
That sounds about correct, yeah.
Yeah, that starts to get really close, at least for my comfort level on that road, especially with conditions as they are today, like standing at that entrance, not on the street. You can't see past Greeny Drive even if the brush is cleared. It just would not be possible, even just standing there, and you know, to see a car coming, and you know, that starts to make me concerned for safety when I know the actual conditions of, you know, approximate speeds that I see on that road multiple times a week, and what people pulling out of this will have to be able to look for. And you know, so that's one of my concerns here, just to, you know, articulate it out loud. And my other question, kind of very specific, is did you actually, you know, the road east of Greeny Drive, you mentioned it was taken from the GIS for elevations, but actual road contouring, has that been actually measured, or is that from some other source? Because my mental model of how that road curves around there is a lot bigger of a curve than what I'm seeing on the paper. That's why I'm trying to ask there.
Okay, you're saying it's a bigger horizontal curve? I'm not sure if I understand.
Yeah, bigger horizontal curve. The elevation looks about correct from, you know, my mindset, but the like horizontal curve to kind of get around the corner, you know, in either direction kind of seems.
Okay.
So I was just wondering, you know, like where the pavement meets the actual property. Is that, you know, is that measured, or is that actually, you know, taken from the GIS or some other source?
We have the shots on the pavement edge till just to the north of Greeny Drive. The topography and the edge of pavement alignment there is taken from the town's GIS and aerial pictures. But again, we had shots on ground from Greeny all the way south to the frontage limits of lot 3, past, you know, frontage of both lots. One thing I should note is that on Snow Road, the actual traveled way does not stay in the same position within the right of way. So it may be a little deceptive in that it's over on the right. If you came from towards the Mass Pike and you're going north, at a certain point, the traveled way, I should say, the pavement is over on the right side, and navigates or moves a little bit. It doesn't stay in the same position. There's a little more over on the left side, and probably to some degree exacerbates this sense of the curve.
Yeah, and like part of my other concern on, you know, asking that question in particular about where the edges of the road and pavement is the fact that it's on your, looking at your site distance plan itself, I see the curb cut between Snow Road and Greeny Drive, and that cut and line extends behind the vehicle you're using as your line of sight marker for lot 2. So that though in front of that vehicle, like barely in front of it, is where your line marker is for the edge of pavement, but that curb cut makes that look very deceptive, and it was hard for me to fully like understand that what I'm looking at is completely accurate.
I understand that it was hard to read because there are quite a few representations there. The edge of pavement, the stone for infiltration with 2 different lines of sight, the curb edge and the existing road, et cetera, I fully sympathize. We're just trying to use a standard 40 scale plan such that it's synced up with the profile. You notice on the actual site plans, we didn't use a 40 scale plan. We used smaller so that things would show a little better. We just used 40 scale on this plan because, again, it's synced up with the station with the profile.
Okay. Is that all of that thread? I notice we have a question over in chat. We have 2 comments in Q&A from Greg. I believe Greg is the one who also has submitted to our record a whole series of comments, which perhaps is time to deal with. Should we start with the chat? Andrew B asks, does the brain injury sponsor know that a train goes next to the building 2 times a day and that it is located next to the Mass Pike? Loud noises are often harmful for the health of people living with traumatic brain injuries.
The answer, Mr. Chairman, is that yes, they're aware of the full context of this situation.
Yeah, because I don't know whether the railroad blows their horn there, but they blow their horn every chance they get. Every time they come to a crossing, they have to guard and signal and blow the horn.
There is a crossing right basically in front of the property.
Right.
Just about.
A little hard to tell exactly. Well, I guess you can see where the tracks cross. But in any case, I'm pretty sure they're probably blowing that horn quite a lot. And I know that people that live a lot further away from that horn complain a lot. In any case, on the Q&A, Greg asked, how are the residents going to be vetted for a fit into the Dover situation? I don't think that happened. Dover just says you can't have a special permit, very roughly speaking. That doesn't have anything to do with the residents. And then he's commenting something about item 2 relative to traffic safety. I don't understand that. But do we have, Chris, do we have Greg, and does he want to make comments or ask questions?
Yeah, I'll give them permission to speak.
And there is someone else also with their hand raised.
Where do you see that? Oh, okay, that's James. Well, okay, James will come after Greg, I guess. Greg?
Yeah, hi folks, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, a couple things. I submitted documents, I believe on Friday, that you guys have effectively posted to both lot 2 and lot 3. I guess we've been speaking mainly about lot 3, but really there's a lot of overlap between the 2 lots, which we discussed in the last meeting. One of the things that was open from last time as well, and I did see that there was outreach, the Grafton-Upton Railroad. I believe they've been notified as a major abutter as to the construction build that's proposed, which is extremely close to obviously their operation and their property. So I guess one question would be, have we heard back from them? And if not, are we going to try and bring them further to the table so that they understand what's happening here?
So I did attempt to kind of bring them to the table as you're discussing, but I have not heard back at this time. I can, if at the board's discretion, if you'd like additional outreach, I'm happy to attempt anything that they think would be meaningful, but so far. The letter and trying to reach out has not solicited any response.
It'd be nice if you get them to at least say they didn't have any comment, acknowledge the question.
Some response would be better than complete absence of response.
Yeah. Okay, moving on.
We get what we get.
Yeah, I guess just a few other items. We did talk quite a bit about the how the Dover Act is a building is managed, right? So if residents change or if they want to use it for a different purpose, so we've been well over that tonight. So it looks like we're definitely looking for additional documentation so that people can understand what's happening there. The traffic issue, Bob, that item 2 that I had in the Q&A, I was basically just confirming that what Justin was talking about is a real issue. The way adding two more driveways and additional traffic to what's already a very concerning traffic situation presently is something that just really can't be underestimated or overlooked. Especially these days where there's so many people that are working from home, and it's probably going to be the case. Heavy pedestrian use around that corner, in addition to just normal vehicular traffic, and it is quite dangerous as it currently stands. So I was glad to hear, Justin, you taking the group through that situation, because I think that's absolutely a responsibility to make sure that gets done right.
Okay. Anything?
Outside of that, I think you guys have hit most of my points from my most recent submission. It just seems like there's still a lot of open questions that need answering. So I don't know if that means that continues to the next meeting, but you guys will have to discuss that with the group. And if anybody else wants a site visit, I know that there was one other last time we met. There was a group prior to the last time that we met that came out, and I was able to host a bit of a meeting with some of the other neighbors in the planning board. There was interest expressed in this meeting last time that a different contingent might want to come out. If that's the case, I'd be happy to do that again as well.
Linda and I did come by and get a better idea of what the situation is in the last few days. I know that we were in that, the ones that didn't get to go out on the visit. Do you have anything else?
No, that's it. That's it for this evening. But I think, again, these comments apply to really both Lot 2 and Lot 3 together. It's been a combined project since the beginning. And they're not mutually exclusive. And a lot of the things that we're talking about, I think, are directly applicable outside of the Dover consideration, are directly applicable to both lots. So thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. This was actually very helpful to be able to talk to you guys in voice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just briefly respond on one point.
Yes.
The last thing that the abutter said, the two lots can be completely separate. They're not reliant upon each other. If one was disapproved, the other could still be built. So I just don't want to have any false impression created.
I think we understand that. But there's a lot in common here. I think he's saying the driveways, very odd situation with the driveways, and all of this is.
Yeah, speaking of driveways, if you will, this particular situation looks tailor-made for a common driveway. Although, given the the separation of the two projects, it may be more complicated to do. But certainly, just looking at the picture there, it certainly strikes me that this is really the ideal sort of situation for a common driveway to serve both structures.
Yeah, I think that was brought up the last time, and I think that the applicants were said something about taking a look at it and seeing what they thought.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Yes, it was brought up the last time. We raised that issue to the intended users of Lot 3, the Mass Brain Injury Association, and they expressed a strong opposition to being tied into an abutting property in that way. So we were not intending to combine the driveways.
Okay. Anything else? What do we do now?
James Vinincasa, I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, still has his hand up as well.
You know what? I'm sorry. I didn't realize I had that on. I did that earlier when Chris asked for me to raise my hand. Sorry about that.
No problem, just double checking.
And you did a pretty good job with my last name. Not too bad.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think we need to ask you for a continuance to try and help resolve some of the issues.
What, do you want to go to the next meeting or beyond that?
Well, I would say the next meeting, seeing as I think, again, with the exception of what I believe was a simple mistake on the part of the peer reviewer on question number 3, and simply some clarification on number 14, we have a clean letter from the reviewer. So I think we should ask to go to the next meeting.
So you're making that request?
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any motion?
Justin moves that we accept the applicant's written request to continue the hearing until August 10th at 7:30 p.m.
Seconds.
Prabhu?
Prabhu seconded.
Yes. Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. David?
Aye.
Justin?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Prabhu?
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We're 7 minutes from 10 o'clock.
I move that we vote to allow the meeting to run past 10 o'clock so we can finish business.
Second.
That was Linda.
Justin seconds.
And that was Justin. Moved and second. Any question? Hearing none. David?
Aye.
Justin?
Aye.
Linda?
Aye.
Prabhu?
Aye.
Me? Yes. Okay, we can continue beyond 10, but not very far.
No, well, there's not that much, but there are.
Well, it depends. I'm back now to discussion items. Do we have anything to discuss tonight, Chris?
No, so the two discussion items, the Mill redevelopment overlay district and the subdivision rules and regulations update. I have not had a chance to make progress on those since our last meeting. I do note that we did get quite a good response from Graves Engineering in terms of the subdivision rules and regs.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to see that in writing.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, did we get the written?
Going to follow up on that.
Yes.
Yeah, I just, I believe he did send those. I don't think we've gotten the formal letter yet, but I will include that at the next meeting materials. And mill redevelopment, we're still working with CMRPC on that. So I'll again reach out and follow up. So.
Okay. Anything else in this category? Discussion items. Bills? No bills? No bills?
I haven't seen any.
Well, Chris or Natalie might know. And
No.
likewise, minutes. I don't think I've seen any minutes. Am I right? I'm right. I've decided. Staff report.
So I do have a staff report that I'd like to make a quick plug, and I may be able to do it in the remaining time before 10 o'clock, even having the benefit of the vote.
Well, it's
Well, all the time you need. All the way to 5 past.
The Open Space and Recreation Plan Survey has been reopened. So if you'll recall, the plan was conditionally approved by the state, but there's still some items we need to do before it's certified. So one of those comments was that the survey needed to be reopened and advertised in mediums that were not just kind of digital formats. So I just want to do a quick plug that the survey has been reopened. We will be posting on Facebook and on the town website, as well as CMRPC's website, of links to that survey. We've also started to reach out. We're going to be, in the library, pick up materials. Flyers will be going out in those. So we're getting a little bit of advertising space with the library. So I'd like to thank the library for allowing us to put a plug in there. And I'll do my best to post the flyer as well in public spaces, even though those are kind of limited due to the COVID situation, but I'm doing the best I can to in ways that are not just digital in this environment that we have here. So please look out for that. And then again, anyone who's listening, if you'd like a paper copy mailed to you, if that's preferable, or if you'd like information, please reach out to the planning department. I'd be happy to either mail a paper copy or send you the link in order to participate in that survey. So that's my quick plug.
Anything else on staff? Anything on correspondence?
See anything?
That brings me to item, well, are there any other items that can lawfully come before us?
Mr. Chair, there is a comment from Greg Puchel in the Q&A. He asks, item H wasn't discussed that I could tell. Has this also been continued to the next meeting? I will articulate my understanding is that item H was the other 80 Snow Road. I believe we took them both together. And my understanding is that we continued that with the one request.
Yes. That's what I said. You didn't hear me, but that's what I said. At the beginning we were talking about taking it together. So nothing else lawful.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Who made that motion?
That would be Dave.
And just a second.
Dave moves to adjourn.
Linda
Second it. It's not debatable. David.
Aye.
Justin.
Aye.
Linda.
Aye.
Prabhu.
Aye.
I vote aye. And we wasted our time. We had 2 minutes left before 10 o'clock.
Well, better safe than sorry.
Better safe than sorry. Okay, thanks all.
Aye.
See you sometime soon.
Good night.